Please take a moment to listen to this disclosure from the Common Ground podcast. The Common Ground podcast is dedicated to exploring commonality among individuals with diverse perspectives. Our guests may present unique worldviews related to health, psychology, and overall well-being. Please note that the Common Ground podcast does not directly promote or endorse any specific ideas, concepts, or actions discussed during our episodes. Listeners are encouraged to approach the information shared with discernment and to consult with their mental and/or physical health providers before making any changes to their health or wellness practices. The views expressed by guests and hosts are their own and do not directly reflect the opinions of the Common Ground podcast. Your well-being is important, and we advocate for informed decision-making. Thanks for listening.
I had a car accident. It was a rainy day. I was on the movie set, and I went to a dress rehearsal, and on my way back, I overlooked a yield sign, and the car from the other side came and hit me, and I fell out of my car and shattered my right knee. I was in the hospital for 6 weeks.
No, because I agree with you, and it becomes my conflict with psychology coming from two people that have a background, educationally speaking, from psychology. We have 200 some odd models from a psychological perspective in terms of, we went from the DSM, 1.0, right? And we're at the DSM, 5 point something. I think it's 5.2 or something like that now, right?
Yeah.
So if we talk about Freudian psychology, then either all of them are correct, or one of them are correct, or none of them are correct.
If I use hypnosis to correct my food problems without dealing with the issues, all that does is maybe I do lose weight, but since I've never learned how to deal with that pain's going to appear now in different addictions in my life. And so my whole point is, how, if we're taking pain away, are we actually dealing with the root issue? Welcome to the Common Ground podcast, where stories connect, perspectives collide, and purpose is found in the middle.
Every week, we sit down with unique and inspiring guests that come from all walks of life. People who challenge the status quo, overcome the odds, and live with intentionality.
Whether you're driving to work, on your morning walk, or just looking for that spark to ignite your week, you're in the right place.
Welcome to the Common Ground podcast with your hosts, John Fletcher and Sydney Curtin.
Welcome, everybody. It is time for another edition of the Common Ground podcast. That's right. It's your boy, Philly. You can call me John. And as always, I am here with the lovely Sydney Curtin. How you doing, Sydney?
Good to see you, Philly.
Awesome. And today we have our special guest, Evie Sullivan. Hi, Evie.
Hello. I'm
So,
very, very grateful, actually, that I'm here. I was looking forward to be with the two of you.
We're very excited to have you.
we were looking forward to it too. So, we're glad you're here with us today. So, I do want to just say something. The other day, I told my wife that our neighbor had died, and she went, "Who, Ray?" I was like, "It's a little early to be celebrating, babe."
Yes, let's start with a dad joke.
Hooray! Hooray! Hooray!
Poor Rennie.
Poor Ray. I'm glad I'm not Ray, because everybody like, "Hooray! Hooray!" But yes. So let me introduce our guest today. As I said, her name is Evie Sullivan. The title of this is My Story: Healing Through Hypnotherapy. So it's really cool. I think it's going to be a really cool episode. So, grab your devices, grab your notepads, and take some notes, because this should be really good. Evie was born in Austria. She was a psychologist. She came over here she was an actress and came over to America, even became a journalist, and went back into psychology, where she is a certified in integrative medical hypnotherapist, if I said that correctly.
It's a mouthful.
It is, and she's the author of an upcoming ebook, Evie's Resilience, It's on recovery and weight loss through hypnosis and flirting with fear on anxiety and the subconscious. So we want to welcome Evie to the show. How you doing, Evie?
Doing fantastic, and I'm very, very, very happy to be here.
We're excited to have you again. Thank you so much. It's so fun having people with the cultural background differences and the perspective that you bring to the table. We hope will be really fruitful to our audience and encourage people to follow you and what you do. So, Evie, going back, take us to the moment that everything changed for you. What was your recovery process like, emotionally and physically? Tell us about a little bit about your story. Paint that background for us going into this topic.
Hey, okay. I had a car accident. I mean, it was a rainy day. I was on the movie set, and I went to a dress rehearsal, and on my way back, I overlooked a yield sign, and the car from the other side came and hit me, and I fell out of my car and shattered my right knee. I was in the hospital for 6 weeks, and then a year basically in bed. I was immobilized. And in that year, I found comfort in my mother's um, brownies and cookies and cakes and Apfelstrudel. And I gained about 50 pounds. And also, I was in excruciating pain. I could not walk, and it was very dangerous even to try to do physical therapy, because the knee could break again, and the pain was, yeah. Only comfort really were sweets. And people visited me, brought me sweets, brought me chocolate, and I ate everything. But then I became depressed and fat. And my mother, who loves me very much, who I love too, uh, said I have to help her. And I'm an ardent reader. I was always reading. So she went to the bookstore and she told the shop girl about me. And the shop girl came back with a book on autogenic training that was written in the 60s by a German psychiatrist, Dr. Scholz. She brought it home. She said, I don't know what it is, but try it. And I tried it, and it really talked to me. I did all the exercises. I stopped eating the sweets. I said, no, that's done. I don't need that. My mind trained itself, and I lost the weight. I kept it off, and I said, this is what I really want to do. I want to help people with autogenic training. At the time, I didn't know that there was hypnosis. But then I learned about a medical doctor in Vienna who used hypnosis. And I went to him to get rid of the trauma of the car accident. And we worked on it so that we had, the mind is very powerful. And when you go into the subconscious in hypnosis, you can really change everything. So we changed my perception of the car accident. And if you ask me today, of course, I can give you the facts, but the emotions are not attached to the facts anymore.
That's really powerful. So in that period, when you recognized that this is what I want to do, what were the implications of going through that process, of going through now, when you went through that healing process, did they actually use hypnosis or did they use EMDR? Because I know that you have worked with multiple forms of this type of therapy.
But later, the doctor, Dr. Werner Kleinschek in Vienna, he was a medical doctor. And first he took all my vitals and worked with the stethoscope around me. And I said, yeah, you're fine. And then I said, but I have these horrible nightmares and even during the day, these pictures. And he said, okay, close your eyes.
Real quick, this accident, it happened when you had moved to the United States? This was
No,
after,
no,
it was in Austria?
no, it was in Germany, actually. The
Germany,
accident
okay.
in Germany, the movie set was in Germany, yeah.
Okay. All right. Great. No, that helps us paint the picture. I appreciate you giving us that background. And that's what reignited your passion for psychology, because you had been interested in it prior, but you had taken a different career path before coming back to this.
Yeah. Then there was a little detour with journalism, but I always was interested, was reading, was doing workshops. Psychology has been with me all my life, basically.
It's fantastic.
So this is an interesting topic and an interesting conversation. Most people, I think, well, a lot of people's only interaction with hypnosis has either been at maybe a magic show
Mhm.
or maybe like a state fair or carnival, where somebody will get up on the stage and they will hypnotize uh, people from the audience and have them barking, standing on chairs, doing funny stuff. What do you say about the skeptics that hypnosis isn't, a real thing, or, is not a real science based? You are certified, you know, you are really taught with the education and the scientific approach. So how do you respond to somebody who just thinks it's just, you know, not real?
Okay. Did the people bark on the stage? Did
Yeah,
they?
yeah.
So it must be real.
But how do you know that those people were not bought out or that they weren't paid to contribute to some form of an act? How do you respond to that type of crowd when it's in that setting where it's an audience rather than individual therapy of sorts?
Well, if people think that the people who go on stage are paid or fakes or so, I cannot convince them they are not because I don't know. Maybe they are. But normally they are not because those stage hypnotists are very skilled and I know many of them. They are also hypnotherapists and they are very, very good. I had sessions with some of the stage therapists and I was trained by a former stage hypnotist, not stage therapist, a stage hypnotist in Toronto, who is one of the top people in the field, who is now a teacher. And he's just fantastic because he knows how he does it with a lot of love. His name is Mike Mandel. And he knew how to command a crowd, be a real entertainer, but also a very skilled psychologist.
And so for those who, because I agree with you, like psychology in its execution has a reality to it. But by saying I cannot confirm or deny the facts of this situation based on my personal experience, we end up using the fallacy of circular reasoning, where it's personal testimony that says that this is real because I have experienced it. But when in that demographic of an audience, we're using circular reasoning and it occurs when the conclusion of the argument is assumed in one of the premises. You know what I mean? Like that where we're saying this is real because I know that most of them are honest. So we just kind of like looped around. So for the people that don't understand the premise of hypnosis or of the subcontext of hypnosis. So we can use EMDR for most people in the States, as I'm sure you know, with your credentials, as a less threatening,
Yeah.
I guess,
Yeah.
concept of hypnosis, right? So where does that gap, where is it bridged?
Well, EMDR works with hypnosis. This is a form of hypnosis, but you use the eye movement and the reprogramming through the eye movement, and that's a very gentle method. But what I do in hypnosis is also very gentle and very loving, because I want my clients to deeply relax, to deeply go into their insights, and I help them. I'm the tour guide to their subconscious, and in the subconscious we change whatever belief system they had. Like I like to work with people who want to lose weight, and the belief system is often, I cannot stop eating. And in hypnosis, we reframe that. That's the same we do in NLP, but in hypnosis it's almost deeper and more lasting. In hypnosis, I tell them I eat until I'm full, and then I push my plate away. And then next day they do that without thinking and without hearing my voice. They hear their own voice saying, I only eat until I'm full. And I sit down when I'm eating.
So this is really cool, and I just want to be transparent here. Since Sydney and Evie have more of that scientific background, I'm going to approach this from the more skeptical background, just to make this
Love when you do
conversation
this to me.
to make this conversation more interesting, and looking at it from both sides. You talk about it being scientific, and so tell me, what's the difference between almost, I guess, the power suggestion? You let me phrase it like this. You ever see, like, maybe a bug, like a spider in a room, and all of a sudden all you feel for the next hour is that this bug is crawling on you, because inside your head you've already made the assumption that it's on you. Or just, what is this, what we say, yawning, right? Yawning is contagious.
Oh, yeah.
Is it really contagious? Or psychologically, you see somebody else yawn, now I'm yawning. So I yawn because somebody else yawned, and then I laugh about it and go, oh, yawning is contagious. So we have these things, placebos. We're giving drugs, told that it's something else, and our body acts like it's something else. So what is the difference between just the natural power of suggestion versus hypnosis and science?
Well, let's talk about placebo. Placebo shows belief changes biologically. It is interesting that when you have different groups, they one take a real drug, the other group takes a placebo. Usually there is the same effect, because people's belief are very, very powerful. And we talked about faith in our former conversation, John, and belief and faith go hand in hand. A belief can always change, but a feeling cannot change. So if you deeply feel there is a higher power, there is a God that takes care of me, you will feel you go through life quite confident. If the feeling is very strong, if it's just a belief, it is not happening so much.
What do you mean by that?
I mean that when you take a placebo, biologically, a belief can change. And hypnosis harnesses this intentionally, because you're not taking anything when you get hypnotized. You just go into your subconscious, and in the subconscious nests a belief, and this belief can be changed. Wherever, if there is a feeling, this is much more complex, and the feeling cannot be changed at random. A belief can.
A belief can be changed, but a biological response cannot.
A biological response can also be changed, but the feeling cannot be changed. If you feel, you cannot live without biting your nails,
Mhm.
and you come to me, I have to let you be with this feeling, experience this feeling, until we are ready to translate this feeling into the belief, and then the belief can be changed in the subconscious mind.
Okay. So, in relation to your accident, and John, I will come back to your question, but I want to try to bridge this so that we're our viewers and we're all on the same page. Can you share with us a little bit in relation to your accident, since that is what it reignited this passion in you? What
Mhm.
did it start as for you as an experience, and how did that change through hypnosis therapy?
Okay, I tell you what the hypnotist did with me. I was in the car, in hypnosis. I was in the
Right.
car,
Okay.
and I saw the yield sign, and I kept driving as I did, but I drove across the road into a forest, and the car that hit me, the car stopped. So there was the stopped car and my car crossing the road into the forest, and nothing happened. I was safe. The other car was safe. There was no damage on our cars, on us, nothing.
Okay. So it made the experience, correct me if I'm wrong, more endurable for you emotionally? Is that fair?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. And I have no feelings attached, I can tell you. And I talk about this car accident a lot. I have no feelings attached to it.
But what I heard you say prior to explaining that was that we can change the biological response, but we can't change the feeling associated with.
Right. The feelings, he worked with me on the feeling. And then when the feeling became a belief, the belief that, yes, this happened, but maybe it did not. We could change it. Could change it into, it didn't happen.
Can change the feeling.
No, not the feeling, but the belief.
So so the feeling is associated with the belief then? Like if we're painting kind of, yeah, have you seen those like the webs where it's like, okay, if this is the origin, then we've got like branches that
Mhm.
come off of that. So walk
Mhm.
me through that. So incident happens, right?
Yes.
And then
Yeah.
if from incident we get to go to hypnotherapy for the sake of this conversation. And from there we can control the, how do we say? We can't control, that's what I'll go with. We can't control the feeling, but we can control the belief. Is that where the web splits?
Yeah. Yeah. Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So elaborate
Yeah.
on, continue that web for me. So if we just stop there, so we go from incident happens and we use hypnotherapy to help us rehabilitate from those traumatic
Yeah.
experiences.
Yeah.
And then from there, we can control the experience, but not the feeling, or the belief, but not the feeling, rather.
Yeah, let me just step in right there. I just to bring it back so that I'm on the same level of you guys and what you're saying. So I can follow along. From what I was hearing was that you were able to disassociate the feeling from the event. Um,
Yes.
you weren't changing the feeling, but you were removing it so that in our brain it wasn't being associated with the feeling no longer. It was being just the event, and I guess we can process it better. Is that
Yeah.
what I was taking from?
You're absolutely right. I was disassociate from the feeling, And then I could believe that this thing happened just the way that I drove the car through the road into the forest. And that was it.
So, Evie, in hypnotherapy, how do we help a client repaint a traumatic memory where we're still ensuring that we're just reframing it instead of rewriting it?
I think in hypnotherapy, it is important to know that we don't go into reliving the incident over and over. We try to maybe relive it once if this is necessary. Some patients want to hold on for a while, but then, and I shouldn't say patient, the client holds on for a while, and I let them holding on, but then I help them to disassociate, and then I help them to move on, to in their subconscious have a different picture and a different feeling and a different belief.
So I want to ask a question as we move in, and this is kind of going to bridge into where we start to take this episode. And that is, from what I'm hearing, is hypnotherapy in a scientific realm viewed as more faith-based or more scientific? Because it seems that they're like, if we're dealing with feelings and data, science is very data driven.
Mhm.
Where is the data driven when you're talking about people's feelings and people's
Yeah.
attachment? Is it so? Does it tend to be more on the faith based side, or does it tend to be more on the scientific side? And how does that play out?
This is very difficult. You know that Stanford, Harvard, the Mayo Clinic, the Dr. Amen, the Amen Clinic, all of them have studied scientifically hypnosis. I get the academic files almost every day, and it became very scientifically oriented. But you know, we deal with people, and people have emotions. And I think the main thing is to help people achieve a healthy relationship with their emotions, accept their emotions, and is it feeling based? I think this depends on the hypnotherapist. There are some hypnotherapists who are very scientifically, and they are efficient. I am more on the emotional side and uh, on the feeling side. I help my clients to feel, to uh, to feel love, to feel compassion, to feel human.
Mhm.
I humanize the process.
Is if the goal of hypnosis is to neutralize the pain in order for people to be able to move forward effectively, but
Mhm.
from a faith perspective, sometimes the birthplace of purpose is pain, then where is a higher power born in hypnosis?
Mhm. Well, hypnosis doesn't replace faith, of course. It gives the mind the calm that faith could rise up. And I am a person who has a very strong faith. I'm not religious, but I have faith. I'm spiritual. And if somebody comes to me who has lost God or has lost her faith in a higher power, I will help them to regain it. Absolutely.
I feel like we're falling into this pattern of using circular reasoning to define the outcome with the definition.
Mhm.
So I want to make sure I'm understanding what you're saying correctly. If if the goal of hypnosis is to neutralize the pain, but pain can birth purpose, then where does faith play into hypnosis?
Well, my belief system goes around, yes, pain is necessary. Pain is part of the human experience. We all experience pain, but we shouldn't live in pain. I help my clients to move out of the pain. Yes, experiences, and that usually brings them to me. But once we are working together, pain is, can be replaced with joy, with fun, with happiness, with love.
Just curious, because I'm thinking about that concept, right? And I agree with you. I don't think that we're intended to live in pain or suffering. So for people that have faith, without necessarily having to define faith or the definition of a higher power for the exclusive sake of this conversation, then could hypnotherapy ever risk repainting what a higher power, or God, for the sake of John and I's position of faith, does hypnotherapy put at risk repainting what God or a higher power intended to reveal?
This is a very good question that I cannot answer, Sydney. I really don't know, because the experience is different for everybody. And I can tell you that the hypnotherapist who helped me to overcome my trauma is not God. This is a hypnotherapist, He did
Of
not
course. Well, and that
replace my
maybe you
mind
can speak to this though, because I agree with you, and it becomes my conflict with psychology coming from two people that have a background, educationally speaking, from psychology. We have 200 some odd models from a psychological perspective, in terms of, we went from the DSM, 1.0, right? And we're at the DSM, what, 5 point something? I think it's 5.2 or something like that now, right?
Yeah.
So if we talk about Freudian psychology, then either all of them are correct, or one of them are correct, or none of them are correct. So we have to look at it from this definition of science, and from three individuals that have faith. And we have to be able to identify as people, as professionals in the industry. Do we abide by all of them or none of them?
Hmm. This is really, this is, I had the whole spectrum of people coming from very, very religious backgrounds, people who come from cults to me, people who have been hurt by restrictions, religious restrictions, and to the spectrum of atheists. And everybody kind of responds to hypnotherapy the same way. They deeply relax. I help them to go into their subconscious, and then in the subconscious we can make the changes. Let's see, they bite nails, they smoke, they eat too much, and they drink too much, they take drugs. Whatever it is, it can be changed. In Alcoholics Anonymous, they replace alcohol with the belief in a higher power, and it works fantastic. People stop drinking. People can communicate. So many alcoholics cannot communicate. They drink and they get into the community, and community is very, very important. And they believe, and it works, and they stay sober.
Awesome. I want to go kind of back, but stay in this a little bit. For me, I want to go back to get some clarity on something as we move into this, as we're having this discussion. What did we do with the disassociated feeling? That we disassociate from the event. Did we just leave it, or is that feeling? Because this brings me into a deeper question about pain
Mm-hmm.
and how we relate to pain,
Mm-hmm.
and whether it's right with faith to have pain or to remove pain. So we talked about that. Kind of what we did was we disassociate feeling from the pain of the event. What happens to that? What happens to that feeling after we've disassociated it?
It becomes neutral. It's a feeling. No, I know I was laying on this street in the rain, bleeding. It was a horrible feeling, but this feeling is not in me anymore. I can describe it to you, but it does not eat anything inside. It is disassociated from me. It's outside.
So this is why I wanted to know what happens with that feeling, is because I believe, especially in my faith, that pain, and even scientifically, I believe that pain, like we feel pain to let us know that there's something wrong, right? So in my faith, God says, what man meant for evil, God uses for good. So if we're removing pain, if we're removing feeling from this, on the scientific end, if we're removing pain from being just a receptor to tell us something's wrong, um, how do we? I mean, there's still something technically wrong. We've just disassociated ourselves from it, and B, you know, if we're removing pain that's supposed to teach us a lesson or learn a set of consequences. Now I get in trauma, which you have felt like you're reliving this pain day in, day out, and I get that, but I feel like if hypnosis becomes this thing that we just latch onto because it's easier to wipe away pain than to deal with pain, to deal with the real issues of the things, and to disassociate, if I can disassociate the pain of of well, let me take it a step further. Let's use the example of food, which you done. If if I use hypnosis to correct my food problems without dealing with the issues, all that does is maybe I do lose weight, but since I've never learned how to deal with that pain's going to appear now in different addictions in my life. And and so my whole point is, how, if we're taking pain away, are we actually dealing with the root issue?
This is a very, very good question, because hypnosis deals with the root issue. We deal with it. We go to the root issue. We go back to the root, but then we let it go. Hypnosis is not a drug. This is very important. This is not a drug. This is not something that you take and then, you feel which. No, we go back. We go back. In the beginning of the session, it's talk therapy. We are talking about, let's say, mom mainly expressed her love with food. What did it do to you? What is food standing for in your life? Maybe it stands for love. And we go and explore the pain, but you don't have to stay in the pain. And we go to a state that is pleasurable for you without food.
So let me push back a little bit here, because you talk about letting go and you talk about disassociating. Um, and that's why I kind of asked that first question, what happens with that feeling? Because something's being left undealt with. And I'm not here to talk against hypnotherapy or anything. That's not my point. My point is to get to some real honest conversation. And I can give it in in this example. My grandparents, they probably had to hunt for their food, you know? And we no longer have to hunt for our food. We've become lazy. We've lost skills. We've lost things. We don't have to deal with the pains attributed to hunger, to different stuff. We look for the easy way out in most things. And my concern isn't with hypnotherapy, it's with somebody looking for the easy way out, to not deal with the pain, to disassociate the pain, to not be pushed on to really dealing with those issues. Because like I said earlier, I think if you don't deal with those feelings and eventually change those feelings, which you're saying you can't change, then those feelings are going to show up in a different addiction, or they're going to show up in a different sense. So I want to get to the how do we stop that from happening? Because as humans, we're going to look for that easy way out.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I don't promote my hypnotherapy like for weight loss, that there is a lot of work going along with it. I'm not telling it in my promotional videos. But when I talk to people, I tell them, if it would be so easy to let go and just, think about something else when we see a piece of chocolate laying around. So no, doesn't interest me. If it would be so easy, we would not have people who are addicted to chocolate or
Mhm.
addicted to alcohol or other substances or behaviors. It is not that easy, and you need help in order to get there. And I'm here to provide this help.
That makes sense to me. I mean, I get where you're coming from for sure, and I can appreciate that absolutely. And I'm with you, John, and I hear the scientific perspective of it. For me, it's that, like in scripture, as John said, that Christ didn't avoid suffering, he transformed it, right? So it's like the cross wasn't comfortable, but it was complete. And, if you erase the wound, then do you erase the evidence of the miracle that happened? So faith tells us that endurance produces character, and how we preserve that truth in the therapeutic world. Is it obsessed then with comfort? Is it about being comfortable in the fruits that the soil or the whatever it took to produce that perseverance? Like, are we then avoiding that because you can't grow faith in soil of avoidance? So that's where my perspective comes from. But I really appreciate the world that introduces or blends evidence of a higher power with scientific evidence. And I say that because there's some people that don't know the Lord, and they need somebody to be the bridge to that. There's people that don't even believe in a higher power, period, regardless of if it is the God that died for them. And so if we can come to a place where we can make that more comfortable, then maybe we can present evidence that this suffering was not intended for you, because earth is the bridge between your eternity. And that's where I have a dispute with psychology in general. And it's why I appreciate, Evie, your perspective. And it's why I appreciate John's perspective. It's why we are the Common Ground podcast, is because I can come to the table and say that I have the educational background of the psychology that I know, that I've studied, that I absorbed for years on end, and also say, if all of them are true, or if none of them are true, then we have to choose cherry picking psychology, which means that I take bits and pieces of what is true, or there is one truth. Truth is subjective or it is objective. And that's where psychology meets, like rubber meets the road.
And I believe that the missing link, or the link that can really connect everything together, is love. I believe in love, and I believe in love in my therapeutic sessions. I believe that when people be able to replace pain with love, they are healed.
What is love?
Love is all encompassing. Yeah, that's the word. Yeah, that's the word. It's all encompassing. That you embrace the pain, and you embrace the good food, and you embrace the sunshine, and you embrace the rain. This is love. This is love for life. This is this is the attitude.
You had a really positive perspective from John and I's perspective, both. I think I can speak for both of us about the idea that there is a higher power, but that others get to define what that higher power is. So, that being said, what is that higher power in your story? Where you met hypnosis and you decided that this was your path of life? How did you define that from your perspective and from your faith ideology?
Tell you the higher power was my mother. was my mother's love. Because my mother was not a person that would go voluntarily in a bookstore. I'm sorry. I don't want to, she was a wonderful woman. So she went into a territory that wasn't hers out of love and said, please help my daughter. She suffers. And then I got this book, and this book changed my life, changed everything, and I was healed. So my higher power took my mother, gave her the love for me, and she went to the bookstore and brought me the right book. Does that make sense? For
It does,
anybody
absolutely.
else?
No, of course. I feel like we could turn this into 12 different segments, if I'm being honest, which is the type of guest that we love and adore. Like, John and I are so glad that you are here, and there's not a proper concluding point, because we could quite literally talk to you for hours. Like, we love your perspective. We love the way that you come at this conversation. It's respectful, it's educational, and that's exactly what the Common Ground podcast platform is about.
Well, I have very good partners here. Thank you.
So, as we start to bring this to a wrap, I want to make a comment and just kind of give you an opportunity to respond. And that is the one thing I think I really appreciate about hypnotherapy is that I do believe that in psychology we become very pill dependent. And I love the fact that this is healing
that.
within and not healing from an outsourced substance.
Yeah.
My conflict is with the whole thing talking about faith and my belief in faith and my belief that pain is okay. Again, the Bible says that we're supposed to take up our cross daily and carry our cross daily. So there's a issue that there's a reality that pain is supposed to be somewhat part of our life. It keeps us in reverence of the greater power who is God, of our creator, because we know that it reminds us every day that we need him, and pain reminds us that we need God because we can't do this on our own. And my conflict is that hypnotherapy takes that perception away, where we feel like we can heal ourselves and we don't need a God. But that's just my inner struggle with it. I do appreciate the way you do it and the way that you come at it. So, and I want to give you an opportunity to respond to that because that's just me being honest at where I'm at.
John, I cannot respond to you because this is your opinion and you are absolutely right to have your opinion, and I will not discuss it. This is your opinion. I appreciate it, and I love you that you have expressed your opinion.
I love that though.
Awesome.
I can
So,
appreciate that based on your consistency and perspective throughout the conversation.
so, uh, what would you, if you could go back to any point in your life and you could talk to a younger version of Evie, what point in your life would you go and what would you say to her?
Oh, well, this is interesting because I have done this exercise with a few times with younger women, and then I look into their eyes and then I feel it. Right now I don't feel it. So I don't feel my younger self, and I don't want to be just telling her something um, without feeling it. If Sydney, would you be a stand-in?
Absolutely, I will.
She goes away.
What else am I here for?
Be a stand. Okay, Sydney, I am 20 years old, and Sydney, I am going to get married. And my parents tell me it is not a good idea to get married that young. And yes, I am getting married. Of course, we got divorced, and it was not a good marriage. It was not really my highlight in my life. So, Sydney, listen to me. Getting married to your high school sweetheart at 20 is not a good idea.
Well, good thing I didn't, but I can be the stand-in for Evie in this situation and appreciate the advice that I was just given, received.
Thank you. Thank you.
Absolutely. Absolutely. All right.
Mm.
Key takeaways.
Key takeaways.
My takeaway, I think started to wrap it up with what I was saying, but to go a little more in depth, if you are going to verge into hypnotherapy, make sure you find somebody, I think, like Evie, who wants to be really careful about making sure that you tackle the whys and the feelings, and not somebody who is just going to um remove consequences for you. I
Yeah.
do appreciate Evie and her diligence, and we even had a conversation beforehand earlier in one of our meetings, and we talked about food eating, and I think there is some really good things. And she when one of the things that impressed me was that she was like, well, I can help you replace some, feelings here and there with stuff, but that you still have to do the hard work. And I love the fact that she was honest and was willing to say, yeah, this isn't something that I just do for you and you're done. That there's a lot of intentionality and digging, and that we need to get to the root of some of the issues and not just make life easier for you. So, my
You take Ozempic.
Right? Yeah.
I did take a GLP for a while, and I did have some great results, but physically it didn't work for me. It interacted with my pancreas, but yeah, like again, and that's we need to be careful of taking shortcuts. I've always believed in my weight loss journey that I didn't want shortcuts because I I wanted to do the hard work, because if I did the hard work, then I wouldn't want to fall back because of all the hard work that I put into it. But I find when we take shortcuts, it's easy to fall back because I could just take another shortcut. And
Mm.
and and so again, my takeaway is to find people who will walk through, and the same thing. I have a doctor who we've had those conversations, so that's why I haven't left my doctor. If you're going to work with hypnosis, find somebody who's going to be real with you and not sugarcoat things and not allow you to just remove consequences without dealing with it.
Oof, boy. Man, that was a lot for me.
I
I
agree.
love that. I love that. Yeah. You know, I've got
Thank
a
you.
snowball off of that because it's so relevant to what my key takeaways are. And it's that the cross was the original counseling session. It was the confrontation with truth and unconditional love in one appointment, right? So it's psychology teaches coping, but the gospel teaches conversion. And without sin, there's no accountability, just analysis. And that is the heart of my issue with psychology, is that psychology justifies the nature of sin and the gospel calls you out on it. And that's where I wrestle with psychology, but I really appreciate from Evie's perspective the accountability that comes into how we can not necessarily rewire or redefine or erase the thumbprint of the author in our story, but make it less debilitating to the reality of the situation so that we can encounter these things together. And that's kind of where this truth comes into me, because Jesus doesn't compete with psychology. He completes what psychology cannot. And that's the staple in my heart for me. The mind can manage symptoms, but only the Savior can free the soul. And even more than that, you can reprogram your brain all day long. You can rewire, you can sit down, you can do the EMDR. I mean, I've done it. So I can speak to this because I've been through these things. But without Jesus, you're just rearranging the pain, is all you're doing. You're reorganizing it so that it makes more logical sense in the human mind. But the flesh is weak, and we know that as people from a faith perspective. Real transformation doesn't come from suggestion, it comes from surrender.
Mm. Can I do my last statement?
Absolutely, you can. We want to hear if everybody's mic had gone
yeah.
silent during this episode, Evie, if everybody had missed everything in this episode, they'd lost service and they could only take away one key takeaway, what would you want our audience to know today?
I want them to know that science and faith, mind and spirit, they are not separate rooms, but they are windows to the same house. When people realize that, healing stops being mysterious and starts being human. This all works together, in my opinion.
Awesome. Thank you for sharing that. And I think that was well said.
Very well.
So, what was for everybody listening, what was your takeaway from this episode? We'd love to hear. I think this could be a really interesting comment section about their takeaways from this episode. I'm really excited to hear what people think and what they took from this episode. But that's going to bring us to our final segment called The Final Five.
The Final Five.
Mm-hmm.
And we're going to ask you 5 questions. And I'm going to start with the first one. Who was your hero and why?
My hero was my grade school teacher, because we were very poor, and she treated me with so much respect that I didn't feel poor,
I
even
love that.
though they had to. Yeah, I had her from first to fourth grade. Um, the class always had to collect money for me to go to a trip or do anything, in the community because we could not afford it. But she made it so easy and so nice and loving. She was a 7 days Adventist, and I still have a big heart for the 7 days Adventists. They're very good people. She was.
That's incredible. I love that. That's great. That's actually not the answer I expected from you in light of the story with your mother. So that's really endearing. I love that. Okay. My next question for you is, if hypnosis could instantly help the entire world unlearn one habit or one toxic belief, what would you want everyone to unlearn?
Hate.
Hmm, Easy answer. Fantastic answer.
Yeah,
Thank you.
I agree. I guess you couldn't say I hate that answer, huh?
Hate it. Hate it.
Sorry,
So
a little pun. Just trying to try,
The dad jokes.
trying
You already got
trying
your one
trying
dad joke of
to
the episode. No, you're done. Cut off.
um so what was either one book, one quote, one saying, one song, one verse that either has had the greatest impact on you or is something that you live by?
well, John Lennon.
What did
Imagine.
he? Oh yeah, perfect.
Imagine.
Yes, yes. I love that. No, missed the last part of it, so I was like, wait a minute, is there like a line in there
I'm
or a
sorry.
quote or a song? No, that's perfect. That's perfect. Love it. All right.
Imagine all the people.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. All right. Next question for you pertains to the relationship between heart and mind. So, if your heart and your mind had a debate on stage about healing, who would win and what would their concluding line in their debate be?
It would be the heart. You can only heal with your heart. Cannot. I mean, this here, the monkey mind most of the time. But the heart is where everything happens, where love happens, where healing happens.
Awesome.
There you go.
Awesome. Who is one person you would like to sit down and have a coffee and a conversation with, either living or dead?
Well, it would be Gandhi, but we wouldn't have coffee because neither one of us drinks coffee.
So what would you drink?
We drink tea together.
There
I
you
have
go.
tea with Gandhi.
Tea with Gandhi. Sounds like a podcast.
Yes, it does. Well, Evie, we loved your questions. Thank you so much for being our guest today. And if anybody wanted to reach out to you or to find you on social media, connect with you, how would they go about doing that?
I have a website, www.coachevesullivan.com. I'm on Instagram, Coach Evie Sullivan. I'm on Facebook. I think I'm only Evie Sullivan on Facebook. I'm on TikTok. I love TikTok.
Great.
I like to talk to young people.
It's fantastic.
Awesome. And we're so glad that you were able to join us. We loved having you as a guest. Remember, when we take the time to hear someone's story, it gives us the opportunity to find common ground. Thank you again, Evie, for being our guest today. For Sydney and I, it has been our pleasure to be your host, and you have been listening to the Common Ground Podcast. Good night and God bless.
And that's it for today's episode of the Common Ground Podcast. We hope you're leaving with a little more perspective, a little more purpose, and a whole lot more inspiration.
So thank you for joining us today. We appreciate it. Thank you to our special guest.
If today's conversation moved you, encouraged you, or challenged you in any way, don't keep it to yourself. Share it, rate it, leave us a review. Your support helps us reach more people who need to find their own common ground.
So for John Fletcher and Sydney Curtin,
we'll see you right here next week, same time, same place on the Common Ground podcast.